Anin, bonjour, Minogizep. Welcome everybody to the Tribal Council meeting this morning, August 7, already August. My goodness. Welcome again. Sorry we had a little technical difficulties with the sound, but we've got it figured out. So I'd like to welcome you all to our meeting. And with that, I would like to call the meeting to order at 9:07 a.m. And with that, I would like to start our meeting off in a good way, as always, with our spiritual advisor, Mr. Vern Adams. I want to take this opportunity to just mention that Vern Adams, who worked at Fortune Bay for many years, has now retired. And I want to congratulate Vern and his wife Cindy for their years of employment with Fortune Bay, and also congratulations on your retirement. I hope you enjoy it. Congratulations. I'm jealous because Vern was in my graduating class, so he's the same age as I am. I'm jealous, Vern. Okay, going on now, if we could have roll call, please.
Kathy Chavers.
Here.
Tara Gishik.
Here.
Shane Drift. Okay, Shane is here. Perry Drift. Robert Moore.
Here.
It must be touchy this morning. You're having issues. There you go. Okay, next we have approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions?
I have a couple of deletions and additions. Good morning, everyone. The first change I would like to make is for the RP selection under Doris Isham, I'd like to move that to executive session.
You want to move that to what?
Executive session.
Executive session?
Yep. And then I would like to add an HHS update with Dan Rabdu under Kim Greiner. It could be
Okay.
in between me and Kim.
Okay,
Where do you want to put that? At
In between,
Kim and Luke.
Peter Kim?
Yeah,
Yep.
after Kim.
and that's it.
Okay.
Couple of things that I would like to see added to the agenda for a discussion is that we as a tribal council, we need to get going on the language and culture, period. We can't keep dragging our feet on this. And with that, I would like to ask for, as just a simple discussion, One, looking at creating either a position or positions regarding the language, so that we can have somebody learning the language while also preserving it. Two, a language policy that says our employees, if they want to attend a language class to learn the language, and that they don't have to use leave or anything, that they can attend the language class. And I think that it's just a discussion. I'm not looking to debate or get into an argument with anybody. It's just a discussion, and we need to get moving on this. We can't wait.
Should we put that on after Dan? Okay. Any other additions or deletions or corrections? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda with those additions and moving Doris's to executive. We have a move by Shane.
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Our meeting minutes are not ready, so we will need to table our July 2nd and July 17 meeting minutes. So do I have a motion to table?
Move to table.
Made. Motion by Tara to table the July 2nd and July 17, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next we have on the consent agenda, Tribal Council to fund employee morale booster event 400, which was the Olympics. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next we have Miranda Lilya with Resolution 12-2025, the 401k plan investment fund changes. Good morning, Miranda.
Good morning, Council. With the memo that I submitted with the resolution, I also submitted a list, Exhibit A, with the resolution of the recommended fund changes based upon discussions with the investment committee and Brian Marker, our TPA/financial advisor.
Any questions for Miranda on the 401k investment fund changes?
Yes, under the, if you look at the second page under Exhibit A, and if you have the balance of each, that's in each category, like the first one, JP Morgan, large cap value is R6 balance of 86,476. Is that going to be moved over into the next account, or?
Yes.
They're all going to be moved over.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any concerns from Jeff on this, or?
No, Brian did submit everything to Jeff for his review.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Jeff doesn't tell us, yeah, this is a good idea or a bad idea. He just makes sure it's legal, so.
No concerns from Kimmy?
Kim? No concern by Kim.
Okay. I move.
Move to approve Resolution 12-2025, the 401k plan investment fund changes made by Shane. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good job, Miranda.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Next, we have Lance Hill. Good morning, Lance.
All right. So, good morning, guys.
Morning.
We've got a few different items on. We'll just go through them one by one. First, we're looking at a modification of Janice Connor's residential lease. She wishes to include her niece on her lease. So the resolution spells out any requirements there and such. So this is a pretty standard procedure, so open to any questions.
Any questions for Lance on the modification of residential lease for Janice Connor? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the change. Motion made by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Silent.
Oh, silent is one silent, and that is Tara.
Mary Lee Littlewolf is my sister, so
Yeah.
I have a conflict.
Okay. Thank you, Tara, for that. All those in favor, opposed, silent, motion carried. Okay, kind of lost my way there. Okay, Lance.
All right, second item up for consideration is a new recreational lease for two band members, Deb Baxter and her niece Cheryl Seppi. Deb she does have an established lot, or had an established lot. The lease expired. It is in the Vermilion sector, so all provisions were in the contract. I believe they were sent for review. It's a pretty standard contract. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Okay, so this is like a renewal?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on the issuance of the recreational lease for Deb Baxter and Cheryl Seppi? Now to call for a motion to approve.
Move.
Moved by Robert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
All right, last item. It's a project that's been going on for a while. Council's familiar with. I'm bringing forward a resolution to approve a new comprehensive Forte leasing policy that handles a lot of the questions that are not always covered on the local level through the
Policy.
Department of Interior.
Okay.
Open for questions. We've had discussions, but
Okay. Now, this leasing policy we put it out for public comment, and so it's just as a matter of fact coming forward now that after we had those public comments and discussions and whatever, this is the final product.
correct. This
Okay.
draft, let's see here. 99.9% of the draft was drafted up prior to me taking the position May of 23. So up to that point, there was one discussion, community session, I believe, in Net Lake. I participated in the one in Vermilion to allow public comments to be discussed. Sat in the position for about 8 months. My supervisor and we had a discussion with the council on February 15th to iron out the comments. So another draft was brought forward. There were one provision added in this particular draft that requires, I suggested, that discusses primary residencies for residential leases.
Yes, a band member, I posted the agenda on my group page, and a band member made a comment on there, and I'll ask the question that was posed on there, is that, is it in there to approve residential leases to non-Indians?
Is it in there?
Is it in the policy to approve leases for non-Indians?
I haven't seen any policy that directs race. The non-band member is approached once in a while, but that could be what we consider natives as well.
Okay.
So it's not spelled out correct exactly in that manner. Forte does have a history of providing leases to non-band members. I understand that it is a charged issue. So one thing that might put people at ease is on our residential leases, we're starting to direct people to the band member as being the lessee with the successor in interest clause. And what that does, if I were, let's say, married to a non-band member, if something were to happen to me, then my heirs assume the lease at that rate for the duration of their life, or the lease life. So that covers the property, but it doesn't earmark them for the land. So what that would do, if they were on the lease, then they do have, I guess what you'd say, rights and responsibilities, one of which would be that they would need a new rental agreement, a higher rent rate. So we don't have both. So if we have a non-band member lessee with the successor in interest clause, that non-band member lessee actually cancels out the successor in interest clause, in which a new rental rate. So that practice was brought to my attention about February. So I would say we stopped practicing that, or I stopped recommending it.
I think that, something to point out too is that, like you said, this has been going on. This was going on well before I was even on council. And I think that this will probably continue to go on long after I'm done with council. And that, it's up to the band members as to what they want. They had a chance to, an opportunity to voice that when this was open. And I'm pretty sure that'll be open again, sometime soon in the near future, if need be. But I just want to point that out. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. I'd like to point out also, I believe this is an amendable document, so if it doesn't meet our current needs down the road, changes can be introduced.
So it's currently a non-band member pays a different price for that lot, right? It's
Correct.
Yeah.
Based on different various calculations for the different sectors.
Okay.
But is it explicit for residential and recreational?
I'm sorry. Let's see if we can break that down a little bit.
I can see recreational, non-band members. But residential, I don't think that we should have that for non-band members.
The non-band member lessees?
Correct.
Okay. Well, since it's being that there's a number of leases that currently have non-band member lessees, I thought it would kind of upend a lot of the work that we're doing, and it would create more work. So I guess I viewed the policy as a way to find efficiency and balance. I understand what you're saying. That's why I recommend that the band member be the lessee. That way they're not establishing unilateral rights in which, the non-band member now has a stake there. Because we've always, things change, but let's just say any property in Vermilion, a person passed away and there was a dispute. We're still going to go through some kind of legal vetting, whether, before we claim the property, we want to make sure people's rights are protected as far as giving them the opportunity to sell it, which happens often in Bois Forte. It might be also worth noting that people do tend to sell their properties, and band members, non-band members alike, and sometimes I've seen arguments for both. Sometimes I've seen arguments from the same person. They did not want to sell to non-band members, and turn around, that was the customer. So the market cost, that kind of drives the decision. I'm not trying to cloud and muddy the waters, but it becomes a bigger issue. It's really hard to pinpoint with one provision that covers all of it. So that's where the successor and interest clause has had success, at least in my view. So.
I read through it and it's not, when I said explicit, black and white. So it's not real, there's some gray area, or not, not black and white. That's why I'm questioning that. And I just wanted to make sure that we don't let our residential lots, homes, or whatever go fully to non-band members. Because we get a homeless rate that's gargantuan. And we need to welcome folks back home. It's not, we need to recreate community here. And if we give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile in Indian country. So that's why I think that we need to keep it for band members.
Sure, understood. If I could, in here, it does mention that, I'll back it up a little bit to our legal counsel when I had discussion. He mentioned that when they were drafting this policy, they found out it was a huge undertaking to cover all the bases that the BIA handbook covers. That is pretty huge. And so you have to pick 5 to 8 items that are really specific to Bois Forte. He didn't actually say that, but he suggested it to me. And as I was reading this draft, I kind of see that approach. So this is changeable. I will also add that I make the recommendation. If there's any questions on any lease that I bring forward, we can certainly have that discussion. I don't have any, I'm not partial, or at least I try not to be. So.
Is there any SOPs that go with this? I mean, it's fairly vague, So like when you say, I have recommendations or suggestions, again, that's not explicit to me. That's not black and white. Can somebody overrule you if you suggest or if you recommend, besides council?
Yes, my supervisor can, there's a chain of command. Yes, this is not, these aren't Lance's policies. And they were drafted a little vague because it's really hard to cover every base. But you see here, what it does allow is at least just kind of an original guiding document. I get, in the time I've been here, I get a lot of questions that are not covered but would be covered here. So with that wide arching umbrella of the BIA handbook, they said, can we do that? That the simple answer is yes, but that doesn't always mean it should be done. So I think that this policy, yes, it doesn't cover everything, but it does take care of a lot of our needs. And if we see more problems arising, I think that we should address it again.
Go ahead.
Sure.
I have more questions.
That's fine.
Is there a grandfather clause in here for those, council did pass a residential lease to non-band members when I first got on council. And then there's various others that are successor, band member and non-band member on there. Is there any grandfather before we sign this one? Is there anything that pertains to that?
Good question. I'm not familiar with one at the moment. I guess my view, I don't know if that's specifically in here, and I do wish Jeff was on the call, but I think that we could certainly add one. What's included, all the prior leases. But I guess my view is it's guiding us as we're pushing leases forward now. And there's enough of, let's just say, back to that hypothetical, if I were married and a non-member spouse is on the lease, what would happen in that scenario, if something were to happen to me, they would have to assume a new rental rate for the duration of that lease. So it doesn't cover every need, but it also doesn't flip the table over on all our leases. I don't know exactly how many, but I think I hand counted like about 380 homes on Bois Forte. So, you know, like I said, I'm seeking balance and efficiency, so I have to meet kind of somewhere in the middle.
I'm done, so go ahead, everybody else. Sorry.
Lance, our old policy, when was that adopted? The old policy we're going by now?
As far as I know, I don't believe there is a local tribal policy. It was
Okay.
always just governed by the BIA
Okay.
handbook, or the BIA guidelines. So,
Okay, because one thing we're, just for Perry's information as well, is that we're really trying to update a lot of our policies because they've never been updated for years to meet the needs of today. So the leasing policy is one of those. We're also thinking about zoning and land use and some of those things that have kind of fell behind with getting updated. So this went out for a 30-day public comment, like we always do with any policies, and then Lance has worked on it, and then they met with us prior to you getting on. But it's to get some things that have been missed in the past to give Lance a little more guidance, but like if there's questions on it or whatever, we can always meet on that and amend it after that. But this gives Lance a little more guidance, if I may say, for his leasing program.
correct. Some of the local challenges, it addresses those. It does not replace it. If CFR covers, you know, if it has some ordinances that need to be honored, that takes precedent. And then this fills in the space where that doesn't always address.
And like Lance said, you know, there are situations that arise that aren't addressed in this policy, but that doesn't mean that we can't sit down and meet and, because each situation is different. And so if it needs an amendment, then we can amend it at that time. So this is just kind of trying to get us up to date with leasing and help Lance in his position.
I think that, you know,
Go ahead, Shane.
if the council wanted to, if one of the council members want to propose a no more leasing from this day forward to non-native, non-band members, the council could do that. You know, and that's an option. I'm just putting that out there. Thank you.
Yes, you guys do have the right to amend this however you feel.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that the ones that have the lease already are going to have to move off. It just that means that we're not going to be taking on any more leases. And that's an option.
The only comment I have is on that is that my grandchildren are non-band members. And at some point, I want my grandchildren, I'm not going to live forever. I want my grandchildren to be able to live in the home that I have. So my children would not be eligible if we do that. My grandchildren.
I understand that too. My kids don't marry band members, and they have kids, and their kids won't be able to be enrolled. So I understand where you're coming from. But like I said, I'm just putting that out there. But I think that, you know, with that, I'm going off what you just said, is that we need to take everything into consideration, because this situation is going to tie into the accounts receivable and all the billing problems that we have as a tribe. So it's a bigger problem, a bigger issue than just this.
Well, if I'll add, the more, and I'm not opposed to more band members, because I did mention that I suggest that the band member become the lessee. But the more band members that are lessees, the less income comes in, so then it becomes more of a cost. I'm not saying that's a problem, but it's just something to consider. If you guys don't mind me, can I add my one comment outside of my position for the band? As a band member, I understand, I respect the rights of the council to make their decisions and such, but I would prefer, you know, at least see all sides of the subject. See, like I myself, I grew up with you guys, but my dad's from South Dakota. So now I'm 50%. But does that really mean that I'm 50% Bois Forte? So I guess I don't agree with this hierarchy that's established by other people. So I'd just like to add that.
I'm going to make a comment. We're talking about enrollment, we're talking about 50%, we're talking about, this should be solved at the MCT level. This should be solved with enrollment. Everybody needs to get on board with that. We can't be just blaming and saying, oh, you know, we can't do this, we can't do that. So we need to get involved. Constitutional reform, get involved with enrollment. Let's figure this out instead of whatever we're doing here. So that's what I think should happen.
Good point, Tara. We're always needing people to get involved. And the MCT is trying to address the enrollment issue, but we're also having issues with the BIA and the letter that we sent for them for the secretarial election. But yeah, enrollment is a huge issue. Kind of trying to maybe move our meeting along, because I know that we have some presentations by Kim that might take quite a while. Are you guys okay with just approving this lease policy, and then if we want to, we can meet and add any, if there's gray areas or situations that arise, and then amend it at that time? Just so Lance has a guide to use right now to further his job along. So I guess I'll just ask for a motion to approve the leasing policy as is, with future amendments that may arise that need to be addressed that aren't addressed currently. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve, but I just want it to be known that I think in all, this comes down to the council to approve this, and I know together we'd make the right decision on whatever comes our way. So I think adopting this for the time being, working on amending it, will be is a good start for something for Lance to just go for a guide. And I just know that it all comes down to either future tribal council to make these same decisions.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Do we have a second? Call for a second again.
Second.
Second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
One opposed. Silent? Motion carried. Okay.
It's too black and white for me. I need it better.
Okay. Thanks, Lance.
All right.
You got something anyway, for now. Miigwech, keep up the good work.
I mean, it's not black and white. It's not black and white. It's too gray.
Okay, next we have Kim Greiner. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. I got a variety of topics
I know
today.
you do.
So, the first item is the resolution and the contract for Tyler Technologies. We've been working on our ERP system update.
What's ERP?
Enterprise Resource Program.
Oh, thank you.
And so it's been a lot of planning over probably, I suppose, a year and a half, would you
Yeah.
say? And we, at a previous council meeting to catch Perry up, we had, you guys had selected, we had on our recommendation, Tyler Technology. So then we started to negotiate the contract. Jeff went back and forth on the contract with them. Couple key points that Jeff thought were, and CLA is that Tyler agrees to the contract to be governed by band law.
Okay,
So this is a big national company that's agreeing to it, so that's
nice,
good.
nice.
Yeah. And then I had sent the resolution, because when I submitted my agenda item, I had forgot the resolution, so I had emailed it to you last night, and then
Okay.
Luke is handing out a copy. Part of this will be paid out of ARPA. We'll be paying part of it out of ARPA up and through December 31st, 2026. The whole contract's roughly about 1.2 million. It was in the previous one, that's why I was trying to look up the number because I figured I'd get asked, and I just didn't bring it with me. And then, so we're gonna pay $659,400 out of ARPA, and that's the implementation costs, and all the way up till December 31st, 2026, because this is a 5-year contract, and then after that, it'll be paid out of indirect costs for 27 and 28.
How much per year out of indirect cost for?
It's roughly 200 or so thousand. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Per year?
Per year. Yeah, so the software, like right now, our system, we buy the system, the software's loaded on it, we own it. This is software as a service, so it's web-based, we have to pay a subscription fee. That's how most software is going. Yes, I know it's a new cost to indirect costs, but we also have some big changes that around 105L that changes stuff too, which I can, we'll be planning and doing, we're not going to talk about all those big changes, but we cannot stay where we're at software-wise. Nope. We have to, it didn't matter where we go, it's going to be a big cost. And to get up-to-date, real-time accounting software, but this also has more. It has HRIS stuff in it, all that. It's not only accounting software.
Right.
It's, it has the grant software in it. It has accounting, and it has HR functions. There's other things that we could add later. Tyler has a great big court package too, Tyler Technologies has been doing software for governments, so they're specialized in governmental software since the 60s. So they're a reputable company. You guys have already selected them. Our second recommendation, this one was about 1.2 million when it was on a previous agenda. Our second recommendation was Workday, and Workday is probably the biggest software company out there, but their cost was about $4.5 million for the same time period.
I think that when the tribe first found out about this Minnesota aid money that was coming, that was going to be given out to the tribes, there's one thing I said to the tribal council back then, was that we cannot be dependent upon this money, and because another tribe opted out of it, could get back in it, and that would lessen the amount that we get. And so basically kind of like spending the money before you have it. And now I don't want to see us doing this with this 105L monies, as I start spending the money when we don't have it yet. And we need to really plan this out, because this is going to be a game changer for the tribe. But we need to do it in a good way, in a smart way, and not just spend. Then pretty soon they say, oh, well, wait a minute, there's not enough money to send out more monies in a 501L. Now we're sitting there, no more money. So I think we got to really approach this in a smart, strategic way.
One of the things that's eligible under 105 is some of the salaries. So that's, that's why I was saying we're going to move some of the salaries out, and like all the building operation costs, heat, lights, insurance, stuff like that. So there's some big changes coming, and we've had some emails. And yes, I know it's, I hear what you're saying too, but we also have to change our software. We absolutely have to.
Just for Perry's information, this is accounting software. Right now, we had a assessment of our tribal finances, and what they did is they came in and evaluated our accounting department, and we've been talking about this for a while, but we know we need to have updated software. And that's what Kim is presenting with Tyler Technologies. That's the company that was chosen to do new software, because what we're finding right now is our software is causing too many hurdles, and it's too outdated. We can't keep up.
It's really a lot of manual, stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not only, like I had said, it's not only accounting software. We don't
Right.
have any HRIS right now.
Right, but the main focus for this was accounting, and then trying to build on accounting with other programs so we can do so we can become more efficient.
Yeah.
And also so we can do more things for, like, I'll just put it out there, trying to do online bill paying or using cards for bill paying. We need a new software system in accounting that will talk with other accounting softwares like HR and whatever that may be. And the initial cost is 1.2 million, but like Kim said, about almost 660,000 is coming out of ARPA. Now is the time to do this because we do have the money, and then that 200,000 will per year after 2026 will come out of the indirect cost budget. So just for informational purposes, the Tyler Technologies is the initial big software system for the accounting and other programs that we want to add on.
Yeah, and then there's grant tracking software too, because we don't have a grant tracking software right now either, which is much needed. Also, we'll be able to get a lot of data for different things,
Faster.
for applying grants and stuff.
It's going to be a huge benefit.
We're really lacking on data as an organization.
Mhm. Yes. And that's what drives our grants. Right. And it's 2 years. This is 2 years. We've been doing this for 2 years now. So it's not overnight.
So we got a long road ahead of us. I mean, the easy part is probably done.
Mhm. So.
Yeah.
Red light on? Oh, whoops. So would this entail, say if band members wanted their per cap direct deposited,
Yep.
they could, okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that stuff that we don't have capabilities in our software right now that people have asked for. We've, right now, we don't have a secure way to do direct deposit from band members to get their information, in bank accounts and people changing bank accounts, stuff like that. So, this will help band members, but program managers will have real-time access to their financial statements. There'll be different levels of dashboards, so the council will also have a dashboard and they can go in and look too. So it's really, it's going to be a lot of change for the organization, a lot of work. And it'll be for the positive, but it is going to be, it'll be, it's going to take a while and it'll get there, but even our software that we have now is going to sunset eventually, and we won't even be able to use, we can access the information, but we won't be able to process anymore.
No, when you talked about with this new software that you're looking at, we're getting, and then you talked about grant data information, is that will this software be able to track the grants that can cover the full cost of the indirect cost, part of it, and then because we need to know that as we move forward to say, okay, we don't have enough money to cover these extra grants. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
Something like that, just something to think about.
Yes,
And
that was one of our
with direct
questions.
costs, you talked about the indirect costs, and my question to that is, has indirect cost over the past few years, has it fluctuated up and down, or has it basically kept raising up.
It went slightly up during COVID, at the beginning of COVID. I've submitted 22, but that's because there was a rule that came out that you can exclude some of the CARES Act dollars. So it kind of, because with all the CARES Act money came, it made it a burden. And so it went up slightly, and then as we've grown, because the other half of that is we've gotten so many grants in, so we get more money in, which makes the indirect costs go down.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
too.
and so, go ahead.
Well, that's what I was thinking is, I was just going to point out is that, since we know that we're having more grants coming in, that's much better for this expense that you're talking about. And then on the flip side, I know that we talked about this before as a council and with you, is that we were going to hold off on putting the software in the system until we get caught up with one of the audits by the beginning of next year. Is that still in play or has that changed?
We're doing them concurrently.
Well,
Because we got the 21 audit done. We're starting on the 22. But it's going to be an 18-month transition to get into there, so we'll probably be caught up on audits by the time we're transitioning. I mean, that's what our goal is. But if we keep, we got to move. I have to go back and look, but I don't know how much longer. It might be like 3 years our software is sunsetting. So we have to move sooner than later.
Well, that's the thing is that I don't want the software taking precedence over the audits, and then the audits are basically held up, and the tribe ends up losing more money, or we kind of got to get the grants or the funding sitting there waiting because the audits ain't there. I mean, so we're stuck.
I hear what you're saying, but we're just gonna we did do the interviews for the comptroller to kind of take over the audits. And so we'll be moving, forward hopefully with more staff. You guys don't see a lot of the stuff, but we've got a lot of other stuff done. You guys have hired Whipley to help with it. I got to circle back to them.
They were supposed to come on board, weren't they?
They were here right after the 4th of July.
And how long did they stay?
A week. I have to get back to them and get some more stuff, and there was some stuff we were working on. We're working with them.
Okay.
Yeah, there's stuff going on. It's just, I haven't seen the council for quite a while, it seems like, and had a discussion. Going back to indirect cost, I want to have a presentation to present to the council so they understand it, because we have a new council member. We have to get that scheduled, and then I was going to invite program managers so they understand what indirect cost is too, and how it's all calculated and impacts of different things.
Thank you for inviting. Luke, can you, for your new directors, make a list of who must attend, who you feel needs that information? Thank you.
It's just getting it scheduled, because we got over some big things and getting back, so it'll probably be end of August, beginning of September when I plan to have that training, because there's all the contract support cost stuff too. Because there's indirect cost and there's contract support costs, which are two different things. And
Okay, Kim.
Yeah, I know, I'm trying to.
Excuse me. Sorry. I feel another sneeze coming on. Any other questions on Tyler Technologies contract?
In your packet, there's the contract itself is probably about 15 pages. Jeff has reviewed it. They've gone back and forth between attorneys. There's some addendums, but then one of the addendums or appendixes is the statement of work. And this is where it lies out, spells out everything we're going to be doing and the time schedule. So once we sign this contract, Tyler, in the contract, they have to have the kickoff meeting within 45 days. So there's some internal planning we'll have to start doing and get there, but they'll be here and they'll be telling everyone what they'll need to be doing and looking at within 45 days then.
It's exciting. but it's going to be a lot of work, but it'll
Yeah.
be good for the organization and for the tribe overall, so. Do we have any other questions on the Tyler Technologies contract? If not, I'd like to call for a motion to approve Resolution 16-2025.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? One opposed. Silent. Motion carried. Okay, good to go.
Kim, just one more question on that. Did you say that you were on schedule then to implement this?
Well, our goal was to be the HR by December 31st, but I don't think
Is
we're
that
going to
still
make
the
it.
same? Okay.
We can go December 31st just because of W-2. They
Yep.
can import the data. And so when they come on, we'll get our big, what do you call it, the big Gantt chart with everybody's milestones and all that. I don't know, that, the contract took longer going back and forth than anticipated. So,
Okay.
going from there.
Okay, Kim, authorization for signature on letter regarding the 2025 Section 105L lease renewal request for 8 leases.
Yep.
That was a-
So on IHS, and I have a presentation on IS, they're just out of order, so I'll go in order in your packets so you guys can see. But so currently we have 9 105L leases with IHS. We have to request it each year. And there's a lot of moving parts with 105L monies.
Question, Kim. You mentioned we have 9 and on the...
Yep.
Okay, you're going to explain that.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's why I was just going into the moving parts. Okay. One of the leases that is not listed, but it says, the second to the last paragraph, is the I Falls area, because we had the appraisal done for the space in the Kutaska. And so they're moving, and so when they move to their new space, we'll have to do another appraisal, and there'll be different square footage, and there'll be a different value, and then we'll renegotiate a lease then. Okay, so like moving parts, I had just found out, it's not significant, but there's some buildings that have mixed BIA and IHS stuff. From what I was told this week, they flipped some offices around in Vermillion, and we have a lease for the IHS spaces, stuff like that. So we got to, and we have, I think on the August 20th, we have an 105L meeting scheduled. So we can do that, that we're growing on this, we're really growing, we were really aggressive with the leases we went off with. But so each year we have to submit and request a new lease, new leases for the fiscal year. So this is for 2025. Jeff and I talked about it briefly because we were having a conversation. So IHS, is pre-funded a year ahead of time. And so, because one of the questions Shane did have before on our emails was like, is this money guaranteed? Well, Congress has to pass a budget, kind of same thing. So the IHS, budget is pre-funded basically a year ahead of time. So like, just answering that question. So this is just for you to request those 8 leases and tell them that we're working on the 9th one.
Any questions on the authorization for signature? Any questions for the authorization on signature for the letter for the 105L leasing? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve. Moved by Robert, is there a second?
Shane's not here, so, so you're asking for the full 9, not knowing about Kutaska?
No, we're
Eight.
asking for the 8. The
Okay.
Kutaska, we know we're moving. Dan, when are they moving out of the, because this would be from October 1 forward,
The new fiscal
but you'll
year?
be moving
Okay.
from Kutaska to a new site before that. Yeah.
Okay, I will second the 8.
Okay. Seconded by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried. So once we get that Kutaska figured out, we'll have another one coming.
Yep.
Okay, or
And we
the,
have-
not Kutaska, but the I Falls office.
Yes, when we get, my last agenda item is an overview on the 105.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of stuff in the works, so it's just,
Okay.
they're just not next to each other.
Robert? Yeah. Okay, Kim, thank you for on that. Next item.
Okay, Shane had requested, I put an overview of accounts receivable. Hopefully I hit what you're looking for.
I'm looking at the money's owed to the tribe.
Okay. I made a PowerPoint presentation, so I'll be sharing my screen in there. And so I had done a training for staff about a year ago. So I had taken some of that and I took a lot of stuff out. There's nothing identifiable by individual in here. It's overview because we had talked about something the last meeting too. And in one of our meetings, but I have a short PowerPoint to talk about. Short for me is not probably short for you guys, but let's be honest.
You are right, Kim Greiner.
So you guys have this in your packets. So first, I don't think people in general realize how many things we bill for. So like the first 3 pages is all the things that we may bill for at some time through our accounts receivable system. So for those in the audience, I'll just read them quickly because they can't quite see the screen. So we might do billing for administration. So like we've done some drug testing for outside companies through agreements. We might bill for that. There's some miscellaneous stuff for conservation. We have conservation fines. Internally, we have a vehicle repair, like Public Works does vehicle repairs for programs. Daycare, we used to, and when we had road construction company a long time ago, they used to do some billing for that. It's old, we don't use it anymore. Daycare, we used to have a lead testing program where they'd go do testing for like some government agencies or something. We bill Fortune Bay, we used to bill for elders trips for like the people who were companion travelers, like if you brought a spouse, something like that. Business loans, we have elderly needs. They had some people who over the years had misused elderly needs and had to pay it back, so we put it on accounts receivable that, those are few and far between. We had some environmental counseling, we had SNAP Ed. It could be even a bounce check that we have to, tobacco program, forestry, Head Start Parent Committee. So dental, medical, pharmacy, all those are not on our system we're talking about here. That's all run through Epic. That's a whole different ball of wax. We have some civil court cases owed to health. We had some ambulance that was pre-Epic. We had Native Hearts Fitness Center. We had some home loan programs, license register, Heritage Center, realty leases. We moved some fund numbers, so I'm not going to, Wild Rice, KBFT, when we had the sawmill. We had some stuff for the treaty funds. That's the guaranteed loans that we used to have at the, at the banks. And if someone defaulted on it, they took it out of our bank account, and then we billed back the band member. We had tribal court fines. We've had general fund leases. We had newspaper stuff, some miscellaneous stuff for the general government. Vermilion Center, Vermilion Fitness Center, Vermilion Water, Solid Waste, which is garbage pickup, Vermilion Sewer, Indian Point Sewer, Big Woods Transit. We did some Lake 14 contract work. That was Chris with the cookie cutters and the stuff. We have Net Lake Water and Sewer and Solid Waste. We have Tax Credit 3 rent. When we were construction, there was some billing with it. Elder home repairs, there were some issues that we had to bill back on those. Nahazda HUD repairs for damage to houses. We had low rent, and then they have deposits too. Their deposits, it's a different category. Mutual Help Home, Senior Assisted Living Center, Tax Credit 1, Tax Credit 2, RTC housing, Cedar Grove duplexes. We had some stuff when we had Northern Eagle was part of our entities, Tax Credit 3, Net Lake duplexes, Net Lake duplex utilities, New Moons. Oh, sorry. I'm way down here, so that's why I. That's okay. Yeah, and then we had the interest. There's some things that had interest in daycare and unapplied accounts. So there's a huge amount of different types of accounts receivable that belong to different programs. And then collecting on that. And some of these problems come from decades ago. And so here's an overview of balances by, I just got to move by fiscal year, yep. So I went back to 2011, and that was my starting point. So in 2011, we had 535 customers that owed us $1,114,175.11. And then I go through, and then you can see kind of what went up and down. We can come back to this too. Come on, go to the second page. So as of 7/31/24, we had 652 customers that owe us $1,789,378.86. And of that, we consider past due, 90 days or more is what we target for collections. And so at 7/31/2024, of the 1.7 million, almost 1.8, 1,624,374.83 is 90 days or more past due. So I'll keep going here. So I did a summary so you could see how much each account is, So there's some people who have credits. So there's of those 652, I think it was, 652, 106 people have credits. So that's there. 231 of those people owe, or entity, because there could be an entity in there, owe $500 or less. And then 73 people owe between 500 and 1,000. 78 people owe between 1,000 and 250, or 2,500, excuse me. 74 people owe between 2,500 and 5,000. 44 people owe between 5,000 and 10,000. And there are 46 people who owe over $10,000 to the tribe, and their total, those 46 people, is $1,046,469.16.
The problem with that is that, if you have somebody that isn't paying that, and we're only collecting by per capita, most likely it's not going to be paid off, right?
Correct.
And once it's not paid off, how is it absorbed?
Well, in accounting policy, so when we consider it bad debt at the 90 days, we set up what's called an allowance for doubtful accounts. So you recognize the revenue as we bill them, and then we set up this allowance at 90 days. And then there's a bad debt expense in their budget, so they can't spend that money in their budgets. It reduces it. And it reduces, and I do have a slide to kind of show a little bit of that, not the accounting transactions, but it impacts it. And I wanted to put a plug in here because at one of our executive meets recently, we talked about the need to have our committees start meeting again. So we were talking, you know, this, and why I'm putting the plug here is because the utility committee, you know, debt owed to the tribe went up because we did not do per capita garnishments 20, 21, 22, and 23. So the last time we did it was in 19. But also in there, like, I'm just going to use the utility board as an example. The utility board wasn't meeting, and prior to doing that, the utility board would meet and they would set rates. They would approve, I believe, the elder assistance applications, and then they would talk about doing shutoffs and prepare a shutoff list and send out notices. So I have an example of an older, in a prior time frame to show you, like on what happened to what's owed to Public Works when they did not do shutoffs, you know, prior to 2019, and how it jumps. So some of that, you know, you're getting people, so they don't get those huge amounts. They're pulling them back in. So, you know, a helpful thing would be to do that, you know. So that's kind of an overview by summary. Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
She raised the help flag.
Randy, you can just send her a bill for that.
I took some to kind of give you a visual, also another impact of non-payment. So I took some of the accounts here that were as of 7/31, and this is whether total account receivable by my new laptop did come in this week. It's at the end of, this one's at its end of its life. And so you could see, so like, and I tied it to show you how much is it due accounts receivable, you know, and this is, the accounts receivable balance is accumulation of non-payment, and some of it's current, but also how we have to supplement those programs with Fortune Bay or Nahasda dollars. Yeah, with revenue. So,
So basically what I'm hearing then is that because you have to supplement those dollars, basically we're still losing out on money then, right?
well, they're non-payment, so we have to make the operational budgets of those programs. We have to give them money out of unrestricted dollars out of Fortune Bay.
That's what I mean, because
You could
basically,
use it for something, a different program, or, a grant match, a program, design, so, just so that you understand that, no magically collect, let's say in theory, if we were to collect all that accounts receivable total, we would not be able, that would catch up for the years of non-payment. It wouldn't solve the problem, but it would lessen the burden on the Fortune Bay dollars. So I'm going to use the Net Lake Water and Sewer, because that one's right in the middle. That's fund number 890. The total accounts receivable due as 7/31 is $73,464.13. The last, when we closed out 23, we had to give that program $110,000 out of Fortune Bay just to make the operating cost.
when we didn't do the garnishment, all those years that you talked about, did anybody continue on with their payback agreement prior to that? Or did they all stop? Or did some of them stop and?
A lot of them fell off. There was a few people who voluntarily signed over their per capita, just a handful during those years. But payback agreements in general, people did not keep up. Like they had signed up for $25 or $50 a month extra. They did not keep up with those. And when the council passed that, the resolution to go back to garnishments in February, you said that we start over at a clean slate, with payback agreements. So a prior payback agreement, we weren't gonna, they had the opportunity to do a new one. And there are some people who did.
I think, one thing too is to point out is that, we have some band members, yes, I know they're struggling. I know that. But our programs are struggling too. You can see that. We're taking money from here to fill the void. And we also have band members, our elder band members even, paying their rent and their bills on time every time. They're current. And they have they're on a fixed income. So I mean, I understand the problem and the struggles, but the struggle too is on the tribal council side too, the tribal government side too, with the programs. That's why I asked for this to be presented so everybody can see it firsthand. Thank you.
Yeah. And so there were a lot of, there are a few programs out and about available, but people, they have to meet the criteria to get some assistance. So we've had some huge, people who have had years and years of arrears paid off, and then there's people who never went and applied. They have to get out and apply. So that's kind of an overview there, but I do have a little bit more to go through. So I had pointed out, because we talked about the utility kit, there was two things. There was, because like the housing accounts receivable, that has been an issue probably 20 years prior to me starting, at least, and I understand, you don't want to be harsh on the band member. There's got to, there's a balance, you got to work with them and stuff. But there was a year around 2014 and 15 that the tribal council, not the tribal council, but housing had started some evictions. And once the word got out that people were going to court to get evicted, and that's in the green here. So at September of 2014, just for housing, there was $425,823.35 in outstanding debt to housing at that point. In that fall, beginning of winter, there was eviction processes going on, and people got wind of that. So by September 30th, 2015, the amount owed went down to 407,000. So people were paying their current amounts and paying off some of their debt. They came up, they did not evict anyone. They came up with this forbearance agreement. So then in 16, though, the outstanding debt went back up to 425,000 outstanding. So we need to have policies, we need to communicate the policies, and we need to work with our customers. It's really, you know, in at the program levels and stuff to help do this.
I think one thing I want to point out is that it's just that, you know, Kim and Aaron and the accounting department, you guys are not the bad guys. You guys are just basically doing your job, and you're following the policies. And we as the council, we're the ones that put that policy in place. And you know, and I know that you guys, you know, get your name ran through the mud and all that, and you know, it's just that, you know, people paid their bills, they'd be, you know, they'd be current, you know, they'd be able to get their per capita payments. You know, I understand that they're struggling too, I understand that. But, you know, like I said, we have band members, elder band members, you know, and the ones that are on fixed income, you know, they're making their payments. So we have a tough situation, and we just got to keep trying to move forward and solve this problem.
It's not going to get solved or paid back overnight or anything.
Yes.
You know, so I'm going to keep go. I have a little bit more. Or do you have a question on this slide? Or, you know, this is just an old, you know, I picked up some stuff from some old presentation. So I had mentioned the utility board and not, you know, meeting and giving notices to turn water off and going out and turn water off. There's another problem with the water too, is that some people have the key, the big wrench key, you know, they call it the key to turn their water on. So Public Works will go turn people's water off, and then whoever has the key will go back behind them and turn the water back on. It happens. I know Public Works has, they had bought some metal boxes that go over that to prevent that, and you put a padlock on it. And I've been told that people have gone and cut the padlocks off, taken the box off, and turned it back on. You know, so that becomes, you know, you know, needs to be reported to the police department because it's really theft of a service, you know, and go on from there, you know, stuff like that. But this slide here, what happens when utility shutoffs are not done. So this is a little bit farther back, but look at in 2012, they, for some reason, they didn't do utility shutoffs. And so their receivables jumped from 177,148 and 12 to 240,000. You know, so so that's why we need to get our policies, our committees going, and communicate, work with them, get some band members done. So this is an overview of the years of how much we've collected from per capita, not including this year. So you can see around 99, it was kind of voluntary, and then kind of moved into people started putting in their policies that if you don't pay, you know, we're going to garnish your per capita. So then it kind of creeped into the business loans, the home loans, stuff like that. And then programs started instead of their last chance before like eviction. We developed the payback agreements, and on the payback agreements, they agreed not, you know, if they make their paybacks, we're not going to garnish their per capita, but this is their last chance. And then we, I think it was around 16 or 17, the ladies had gotten that information because Tara had requested it. They actually wrote a formal garnishment, per capita garnishment, and then we suspended it in, no, well, 20, we suspended it in 20 because of COVID. And then just this year in 24, the council had passed it. So it is a lot of work to do that. So that's that. And I didn't have a slide prepared, but I have a little bit of statistics written down because I was preparing an email for the council. So there was, when we were planning for per capita, at the time, when we got the money in, there was 3,596 enrolled band members, and before August 1st, 2 had passed away. So we had 3,594 people. There was 790 that goes into trust. And so then that's how I get to the numbers for the adults. By the time we worked through the garnishment process, there was 236 people that are getting their per capitas garnished, which works out to be about 8.3% of the adult population. And per capita's in the mail. We collected about $195,000 from per capita from those 236 people.
Kim, I want to commend you on your presentation because this does take time, but I think it's good to explain to the tribal members because it's all, you know, it's really hard to get everybody together. It seems like lately it's just been so busy. But I appreciate the presentation because it does show that this isn't just today's problem, it's from years ago. And, you know, there's been talk about, you know, maybe not, the council shouldn't garnish it, we need to start collecting. And I agree with you with those policies. We need to follow our policies and be consistent. I think that's the problem we have is consistency. Because it seems like when we try to do water shutoffs, they'll call somebody and sometimes it's this is old days now. There used to be council members and they'd say, go turn that water on, you know, but so I think consistency is something that we need to look at within the organization to ensure that our people are paying their bills. Because there are, like Shane said, the elders and others that are on limited incomes can make their bills or pay their bills. And, you know, I realize people are struggling as well. But we just, it is a burden on the tribe to be filling these voids for funding, because what happens is it's, in order for us to get more water and sewer, we got to show that we can run our systems. In order to get new housing, we got to make sure that we can collect on those houses to get new housing. So everything that is done from an organizational standpoint affects the future funding, housing, water and sewer. It does affect it. So I really appreciate your presentation. It was very good. Any questions for Kim on the accounts receivable? Because she's got another presentation on ARPA funds. Okay, moving on. Oh, Squidge. I mean, David.
No, I just wanted to, I like Shane's comment about everyone being up to date, even if they're on a fixed income. But I was just going to say, you know, as a person paying my bills, you know, I'm on time, I'm up to date. But I was just going to say, if there was going to be a garnishment, I would just ask that you guys consider maybe reimbursing those that were up to date, whatever you guys decide. Just throwing it up there, you know, that's not fair for, if Erin's not paying her bills and I'm paying my bills, and they say, oh, okay, you could keep your per cap, but, you know, I get my per cap, so that's just telling me it's okay not to pay rent. If that makes any sense.
So there was a point in time that it's come up several times of like, because like one of a previous council someone had suggested, well, let's just write everything off and start everybody at zero. That was one council member. Another council member said, well, if you're going to write that off, what about all the people who paid? Where's our reward? We're paying on time. We're not benefiting from it, you know. So
like I said, that's just saying that it's okay not to pay rent, you know, and if Joe's not paying his rent, I'm paying my rent, and, you know, oh, we'll give you your per cap. Well, and I'm not going to pay my rent either. Nothing better. I better get my per cap too. I'm just throwing that out there, just something to think about.
No, there have been some people like that where here's just an example, is that some people are in their homes and they don't pay their rent and they've been there for years. And how fair is that to those that are paying their rent on time, and nothing happens to those that don't pay? Is basically kind of what you're saying, right, Squidge? Yeah. We do have people like that, so then the people that pay, some of them quit paying because they say, why should I pay when they can stay in their house and not pay? I'm not going to pay them. And we've had that happen.
I think that, if the council were to do that, to say we're going to wipe everything clean, then I'd say let's take it one step further than everybody that paid on time, every time, let's give them their money back. Let's be fair.
That's coming out of the Vermilion budget.
But I mean,
Just kidding.
But seriously, though, I mean, if we're going to be fair, then let's be fair.
Well, who else said that, Kim? No, just kidding. Now you're piquing my curiosity here. Yeah, I have no idea what you guys are talking about or what's,
It was like several years ago in a council meeting.
Okay.
So it was just, it's not that the council hasn't like talked about this before, but it's a tough issue, and it's been, like I said, because it was long before I arrived here that there was issues like that.
Yeah, I just like to add to, yeah, I do know the struggle. I mean, I do know. When I first got here back in 2000, I had to stay in one little room, me and my 3 kids, one little bedroom for a whole year because we didn't have housing here. Couch hopping, they call it now, homeless. And back in 2021, I was terminated and I couldn't get a job here for 9 months and I struggled, but I still had to pay my bills somehow. It was a struggle. It was really a struggle. So I understand too. I mean, I understand how it is. You're full of fear that whole time. Anything can happen to you. So yeah, this is a lot of money that is owed to the band. But it looks like it's lessening. You know what I mean? The old stuff is higher than what's the most recent. So that's good. That's a good trend.
Yep. So like Shane had pointed out when you were talking in the leasing, he said, collecting from non-band members is harder. There was different methods of collections we had. We also used to have, that we haven't rolled back out or considered, is we had, I believe it was called the arrears policy, and if a condition of employment is if you owed the band money and you were in arrears, there was a disposable income calculation, and you had to have, were you required to have a payroll deduction and pay something against your arrears. And so those were running, that I think we found that went back to, don't quote me, like 2006, 7, somewhere in there.
I remember it was 2009 when the solid waste, because I argued with council about back then that it needs to come through payroll deduction if you're working here and living here. So.
Yeah. So there's been different, we've tried different things, and it all plays into it. There, during COVID, there was some really great programs out there to help people, like the CARES Act, like there was the CHAP program and the ERA program, but there was only a certain number of months they could help you with and certain dates. So it helped in those periods, Now there's some smaller programs out there that are paying like this really old debt off, so we've got a couple of those. We went through and cleaned up some of the deceased people, wiped some of those off. Some people paid their balances. People have made So people are starting to come be aware of it again and working on it.
Just kind of getting back to normal. Excuse me, go ahead, Shane.
I think, yes, I understand the struggle, like I said. That's why when we had the CARES Act money, I pushed for a CARES Act payment. When we had the ARPA money, I kept pushing for ARPA payments for the band members. So, because band members would comment on my group page or message me or text me, whatever, and say, can you push for this? So that's what I would do. I'd push for it. And so, yeah, I understand the struggle. But I also understand that we as a tribal government, too, we're struggling too, and it's hard.
And the last point I want to say is like that money doesn't go back to the council basically, like the housing rents, it goes back to fix stuff, they're on a limited budget and it's hard to get money. And the cost of stuff right now for repairing those homes, as you have seen, is astronomical. But like even to go and replace furnaces or something, there would be some funds there, That's where it's called program income. It goes back into that program for specific things.
Okay, Perry, go ahead.
Nagigidu gawin gada naskan junia. For me, it's a no, but this was decided on in February, so I just want to let it be known that we can sit here, point fingers at each other, we can do what we want to do, but I just want, for the record, that it was a no for me against the garnishments. Gawin and Giza Mio.
Okay, thanks, Perry. Kim, do you want to move on with ARPA now?
Yep. I'm passing out, I updated it as of yesterday. And I apologize when I attached my file to your presentation packet out. I'll be sharing the screen again. I have a spreadsheet, and every time I update it, I make a new tab. It attached all the tabs. So you got like a whole bunch of stuff, but it's more up to date. Now I'm going to ask the council when I present this, this is my budget spreadsheet for this, and this is how I track the ARPA dollars. And we're only talking about what's called the state and local fiscal recovery fund dollars in ARPA. Would you like me to walk through and describe each project we wanted? Or do you want me to do a summary at the bottom? Because I was just requested to put a presentation on, so.
Whatever you want to do, Kim.
Okay.
Whatever works best for you.
Well, just education for audience people. I know I went through this with the council about a week ago, but it's just updated expenditures. So when Bois Forte's share of the state and local fiscal recovery funds was $29,194,619.91. There's some guidelines around it. There's categories that you can spend it on, and there was some restrictions. It is federal funds. The biggest key now is that the funds have to be obligated. That means we have to have our contracts in place by December 31st, 2024, and we have to have the money spent and projects completed by December 31st, 2026. So there's construction dollars in there, so that you have time to get this done. So I'm going to walk through, so there's some positions on here, and they go over a period of time. That includes their salary, fringe, travel, cell phones, office, stuff like that. So no one is making that amount of money, there's a lot of things in there. It's just the project, the total of that project. So when we started out, the two first things we needed was the ARPA fund coordinator and legal services, because we need someone to gather the information and keep stuff going on track. And then the legal, there's a lot of legal questions and stuff going around the ARPA, what's allowable, not allowable. And our process that we came up with at Bois Forte is when we expend the funds, we pass a resolution because there's a lot of reporting to do with ARPA, and then the resolution number becomes our contract number. And it's really nice to tie it all out and everything. You can follow things really clear for auditing purposes and reporting purposes. So then, we went along, we had the ARPA coordinator, legal fees, supplies, because we did some mailing, stuff like that. We ballparked our figure for supplies. I have different color coding in here. These are my personal notes. So then the very next thing they did, the tribal council did, is they did their first economic relief, because when the regulations came out, it wasn't clear how much was allowable to be paid out of ARPA. So I believe our first payment was $1,400. And that program runs through September 30th, 2024. So you have to apply for it, and so there's some people who have not applied for it, and that's why I have it in red over there. It's kind of on my watch list. I would like to do a targeted mailing to those who haven't applied to encourage them to. There are some people who will never apply. Some people just feel they don't need the money, or could be used for something else. But we'll do our goal will be to get a targeting mailing out by September 1st. And then the next thing the council worked on was Family First Leave, and this was the federal government during COVID at the beginning, when you had COVID or you had to quarantine, we could claim a credit on our payroll taxes, and that program had ended, and so the tribal council extended it. And when ours was about to run out, they had extended it. That's why there's a budget modification. We were in our throes. We were always behind the curve when the pandemic hit. It was, we always seen a lag behind, like when it was hitting the Twin Cities. It was a couple months later when it was really here, and impacted us. So it didn't fit into like the federal government timelines. The next thing they did was they had a Native youth coordinator that was doing some tutoring at the school. Decided to go on a different path. Then we went on and we did, this one was a no-cost thing. We took $15 million of our ARPA funds and we invested it per federal guideline regulations. You can't invest it in highly risk stuff, so it's secured. But being that it's secure, we don't get a big return. We haven't gotten to the point where we've had to start. We will, by the end of September, start drawing that money back to the reservation, because the money that we kept here we've used up, and stuff. So, and then the council had directed that interest income from that investment be used to establish a reserve. I looked at the market value yesterday, and we've gained about. We have interest income of about 1.6 million. So that's a reserve, to set aside. It's unrestricted, so it doesn't have to be spent with this. So then the next thing after the regulations came out, the federal government clarified what you could do for payments, and you could do up to what the federal government did. So we did a second payment of $1,800. So someone who applies now gets those two together. It's a one application, two together. That one also ends September 30th. Then the next thing we moved on to was premium pay to reward our workers for working during the pandemic and rolling out services. And that was for the tribal government and all the enterprise employees. And that's completed. So then the next project we had worked on, and so one thing that was happening during ARPA, there was all kinds of grants available that pushed out. There's grants available through the federal, and then there's programs, and then there was grants that, because the state of Minnesota also received a very large amount of money for ARPA, and because we're residents of Minnesota, we were eligible to apply for their grants too. So there was a lot of opportunities out there. So one of the opportunities that came up was they looked at doing a new community health building here in Net Lake. When you apply for a grant, a lot of times you have to have some preliminary architect work done to have cost estimates and to show what you're going to do so you can do your narratives and that. So there was one out there, it was a first come, first serve for community health buildings. By the time we applied, the funds were already used up, but we have plans for a building if we need. Then we moved to, the council had directed us to work on kind of like a strategic plan, or not a strategic plan, but how to plan or get assistance on how to do this. So you had Bluestone come in and do an assessment, was the first phase, we'll call it phase 1. And they came in, they assessed it. And then we did an RFP process. The council selected Bluestone. And then they came in and did an assessment, and then they kind of had a menu, and then the council picked various projects from that menu to do. You did not pick all of them, but then you engaged them to do a communication plan, a compensation study, an economic diversification, organizational structure, a planning. And so that was like searching for grants, because there were so many grants out there, matching our goals to our grants, a strategic plan, and succession planning. And then travel for them, because they did come a few times. They were here. Some of the projects got completed and some didn't. We did not pay all of those funds out all the way over here in column O. For those on the screen, that's how much we did not, we had estimated how much, and so we'll probably have to look at that. We have a meeting tomorrow to do an update on ARPA stuff. And so we'll discuss if we're gonna unobligate those funds and allocate it somewhere else to a different project.
And how much is that total?
I don't have it here because I didn't mark it, but I'll have it ready for tomorrow.
Okay.
Some stuff I noticed as we were doing this that I forgot to, the Bluestone stuff, I forgot to make an adjustment column there. So then the next priority of the tribal council was the dam, and so we paid for the dam engineering cost. We had to have the engineering done to be able to pursue grants. And the council, the next project they worked on was an economic development project, but they've since scrapped it. But we had A&E work done for the Evelyn C store, and then we went to. The next thing was the Heritage Center. We had originally thought we would just have to be able to replace the boiler. And you had to authorize that, and then we've retracted that because it was a much bigger project. And then you added the compensation study for Fortune Bay, and then there was some extra costs with the compensation study. Then the next project the council was going to do was Rosetta Stone, buy licenses for people, but we had a MIAC grant, so we didn't have to pay for that at ARPA. They paid for the licenses out of MIAC. And then we had to pay for what's called Laserfish support. We have an online application software subscription. And so like for those who've accessed it, like if they applied for the economic assistance or the emergency rental program and some other stuff, that's a subscription service. So we had a lot of it there because we were trying to not have contact. Then the next thing is that we had to do a berm. There's 2 berms. I must have missed the other one up here, or maybe it's farther down. But then it was flooding and causing imminent danger to our dam. And so we had to build a berm, and then it flooded, and we had to build another berm. But in the meantime, on those, we got some FEMA dollars to offset those. So it's kind of, we could use it to get a project done, and if we got reimbursed, So like with FEMA, this berm number 2, we got that other than $473.50, we got reimbursed from FEMA. Then we did the, we hired Dave Dance to do an application, the ICDBG grant application for the DNR building, which was, we successfully got, and that's a $2 million from HUD plus our match. And we're in the works of, the staff is in the works. Then we have a HAF coordinator. A lot of the money that came out during ARPA and CARES Act had administrative caps on them. And so HAF is the Homeowners Assistance Fund. And so you're capped at 10% of our dollars we receive to administer the program, but it's a lot of application work and processing. So we've supplemented that program for that salary for that individual who's doing that. The next thing we did is, because we had a lot of grants that were coming out that were going to be capital asset type planning grants, we engaged with DSGW as an architect firm for 3 years. So every time a grant application came out, we didn't have to go through the procurement process to secure an architect. And that we needed to do that because we needed the preliminary designs for the DNR building to apply for it. So they kind of work in between there. The council's approved an IT network engineer project to help IT with staffing. As we move forward, the amount of work around computers and IT and cybersecurity has just exploded. You know, they need help. The next thing then was we bid out they got the information from the engineers for the dam construction. And that one, I would like to point out, the council originally had budgeted the whole amount out of there. And while we were doing that, they also applied to the IRRB, so the IRRB also gave us $350,000. So we got to reduce how much we paid out of ARPA. Then when we applied for the DNR building, we needed to have a grant match. So we have the grant match set aside for the DNR building. Then we applied for the, is it the ICDBG for the, or is it IHBG for the elders? Yeah. They're similar names, so that's why I have to ask. And so we had to have updated for the elderly housing units. And when we applied for that, we had to have a match. So we still have the grant match sitting there, but kind of ending the dates. But talking to Carol in the hallway, I think the application again is due this month, and they want those projects, HUD wanted those projects to start in December. So it might be, you could give
So the new IHBG competitive grant application is open. It's due August 29th. I'm going to reapply for the senior housing. There is no match required. I think you get points for it, but I'm going to clarify that. No match. I found that out. But I'm going to have DSGW give me some new updated pricing for the senior housing because it's been a year or 2 years now, I think. Yeah, so, but the timeline was they're going to award prior to December 2024 because their timeline was that December 24 to December 29 is the time to get a project done. So, okay.
So we've left that there because we've always tried to.
Question. With that, and let's say we get it, that'd be great and awesome. Where's the new site going to be put? Because I think we can't put it behind over there because of remember the documentation that you sent us about how that site over there is kind of off? You sent us some documentations with pictures that we can't build behind the Wrinkle Ranch.
Well, it was visually, I think it's not going towards the lake side, it's coming towards the road side. Like
Yep.
an L like this, right?
Yeah, so you
it's
know
like
how
this, right?
the Wrinkle Ranch is like this, it would go across from the Wrinkle Ranch.
So you're still so basically the plan would still be, if we get it, to build behind the Wrinkle Ranch then.
would say it's
In-
in front.
In front of it.
In front of it?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And then we have behind the Wellness Center in Vermillion, for the Vermillion ones.
So there's that. Then we had food programs for the urban offices. Then another thing is because we have a lot of construction, when we still have a lot of construction coming, we have money set aside to hire a project manager to oversee those projects. The next thing, because there was so many grants out there, we tried to seek out, we did grant writers. And so we did basically a service agreement with, this one in particular didn't cost us any money because it was a service agreement and then they'll charge us as we do grants. But SRF, and they're really good around roads and do they do water and wastewater too? I think, yeah, infrastructure type stuff. So that's their expertise. The next thing we established was the HR Employee Assistance Program. You hired an individual, and they've been doing training and updating stuff and onboarding. Then moving on, that bold line was kind of that fiscal year. So then we went on, the next thing you engaged was for A&E services for designs for a roundhouse so that we could apply, get what the community wanted, get a design and seek out funding. Then the next thing was because we had mentioned the Heritage Center needed a lot of work. We went back and did the work for the Heritage Center, or they reworked it, so we needed A&E. And so there was some A&E services, and then when they get their new boiler, they need what's called retrofit commissioning, and there's a cost to that. The next item that the council worked on was we had gotten a grant for the OEO shelter. We referred to the OEO shelter out in Palmquist, and the costs were way more than we had put in for the grant, so they had council supplemented that. And then SRF did an electrical grid grant application, and I believe that's a grant that we get 3 years. We did successfully get the grant, and is it 3 years in a row we get funded? The grid grant. Yep. Then the council hired the project team to do some work. They did a self-storage assessment, and then they were going to look at moving towards having TANF run through our 477 program. On the TANF project, we had to pull that back because they didn't have time, so the council canceled the contract. Then we got into another year, so we needed some more laserfiche. Then we had, the next thing was the inflation cost for the maintenance food shelf building over in Vermillion. You remember we applied for that probably in 2020, 21. And then by the time they got through, what was that? Yeah, okay. But by the time you do the work and do that, and then because of the economic conditions, the inflation and the size and stuff, it had gone up in price, so the council had set some money aside. Then we had, since we updated the dam, the council had a wonderful year with the rice on the lake. And they put some extra money in to buy green rice so that we had a inventory to resale. The next thing is we talked about the software project we were working on. We participated with the Native Governance Center in a tribal finance pilot project. They gave us $50,000 to help us search for software, so we hired CLA, an accounting firm, to help us do that. We've done council hired some staff to come in to do, a company to come in and do a adjudication training. You had an HR assessment. We hired, then we had SRF help us do what's called the Rural Pilot Grant. And that was the one that we called the Taylor Swift, wasn't it? it was like first come, first serve, and when it opened up, you had to be right there, and it's like getting Taylor Swift tickets, they said. And we were successful. Then we had, there was a burned house that the council wanted, we had a, no, I missed, demolition of buildings. No, this one was the demolition of the buildings. I did miss a few. Yeah, there was, I missed, there was a building, burnt, an individual burned house that the council had tore down. And then the council's been working to clean up a lot of the abandoned, burned out buildings. So we applied to, in the year-end process from the BIA and got funding, and we supplemented, and we had, I don't remember last year in the village how many structures we had taken down and cleaned up. Yeah, yeah, so we did that. Then we had shortfalls because IT had gotten a grant for a fiber to the home project prior to COVID, and then when we got awarded it, it's about the time COVID hit, and everything skyrocketed and everything halted, you know, for a while. You remember how the beginning of COVID was? I don't know if we knew or what we were doing some days, but we got the fiber to the home. We had to skyrocketing cost and a lot of running into rock over in the Vermilion area. We did that, but also we got supplemental funds from IRRB, so we didn't have to fund all of the shortfall. So next going on is they bid out the work that needed to be done for the Heritage Center, and there's 3 major projects that need to be done there. There was the HVAC system, the roof, and the wall. And so they did the HVAC because there's such a lead time on the HVAC. So you approved that. Then we needed some additional work done, A&E done for the dam and the Net River because of the trying to put the did I say this right? The meanders back in. And then we had a change order because of for the HVAC project because of the time that we had gotten the original bids till we awarded it, and it was approved by the council for $5,800. And it's only the cost of the increase of the boiler itself. Yeah, and that's all they passed on. So then we had some software search, and then now we're to the software implementation phase. So CLA is kind of our quarterback for us, helping us get this moving and doing stuff. So like now we're into the phase of what's called designing the chart of accounts and seeing what we need to design and stuff like that. The next thing that the council authorized was the geopiers, because once we got the soil borings back for the Vermilion facility, the soil, they had to do this unique structure, like they're like, I don't know what you call it, like pile driving, you know, to support the weight of the building in the soil so it would support it. That wasn't, some of that stuff you don't know until you actually do the soil boring, stuff like that, soil corrections. Safe Streets for All grant, we have a match that the council did. And then we also established an energy department, and that's wages and cost and some grant matches for renewable energy, because there's a lot of money now that we're moving out of ARPA. There's a lot of dollars. It seems kind of odd where it's at. It's in the Inflation Reduction Act, but there's a lot of climate dollars in there. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for renewable energy. So then projects that the council has okayed to go forward with, but we haven't, like today we just finalized the contract for ARPA and have that, so I'll move that up into the approved part, you know, but we've kind of set that aside. We have some additional, we have to, you know, it has to be brought forth and get the resolution, additional fiber conduit for Fortune Bay. There's an IT equipment project for Fortune Bay. There's the docks for Net Lake, or, no, the Net Lake we already did, Vermilion and Indian Point. And then the Heritage Center, which I would like to point out, we had earmarked for the other two, but someone else can.
We just received, what happened with the Heritage Center, it started out a small project, but ended up being a rather large project. And I think the cost is to fix the roof, the wall, and the HVAC was 1.2 million. And I want to say a shout out to Jalen Strong, our Heritage Center director, and also Doris, I was a part of that as well. They did submit a letter requesting full funding of the 1.2 from the Shakopee Metawakanton Sioux community. And we received notification just yesterday in a letter that the Shakopee Metawakanton Sioux actually funded 1 million of the 1.2 million, which frees up more of our ARPA money that we had obligated towards the Heritage Center. So you want to say Padamaya Chimagwich to the Shakopee Metawakanton Sioux community for giving us that $1 million grant. It's not a loan, it's a grant. And that will help us with our Heritage Center. So Padamaya to those Shakopee, and to Jay and Doris.
So, and we'll talk about more tomorrow, and the council could have different opinions how to handle it, but like, so we had set aside that money, and I was thinking that we reduce the amount out of ARPA by the two that haven't been already assigned, contracted out. But we can talk about strategies tomorrow. So our original budget, as of yesterday, basically, or today, was, we had 1,634,614.19 that we haven't obligated or earmarked, basically. With some of the adjustments, like the Heritage Center funding, we get to pull back 1,322,799.05, because we get to reduce their costs. And then I have to reassess the Bluestone costs. So right now, we have obligated 26,237,000, obligated or earmarked, I should say, 26,237,176.67. So that leaves us 2,957,443.24 that we need to work on, and that's our working session tomorrow to just start looking at that. So that's December 31st. We have to have those contracts in place or programs.
With that being said, that the young band members that either turned 18 or going to turn 18 by the end of by December can still apply for that 3,200 payment, correct?
September.
September?
Yeah, September 30th.
So I think that we should get that out there on social media and our website, so band members can still apply for it that haven't received it, and especially those that are going to college, that money will come in handy.
I think you had stepped out when we talked about it, and we were going to do a targeted mailing to the adult band members too who have not applied for that economic assistance. There's some that haven't, so we were going to reach out so that they could have an opportunity.
Again, Kim, another great presentation. It's a lot that has gone on since COVID with ARPA. And I want to commend the council and senior management and everybody involved, because this took a lot of meetings, a lot of figuring out, a lot of questions, a lot of grant writing. Our staff is, I just want to say what a great staff we have, but another great presentation on the ARPA funds. And then once we're done spending or whatever, because whatever we don't obligate, just for everybody's, by the end of this year, we have to send that back. We can't keep it. So we're trying to make sure that we spend down every penny or obligate every penny of that so we don't have to.
And I want to reiterate that this is just the SR, the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. There's several different pots. Also, a lot of people applied for other grants or like the BIN funding, because when we had our original great big list, we've gotten a lot of things accomplished that we never even put on here and stuff. So there's all kinds, you know.
Very proactive. I just want to say, everybody just really stepped up, and another great presentation. You know, we will get a final report out once we're all done with it, but this is a great presentation. Go ahead, Tara.
That's why I asked you to, you know, compartmentalize all this information so that, well, Shane asked for the
Yeah.
viewing audience, but I wanted to make sure that that we're not, because some of this is unobligated, or some of it may be unobligated. So that's freeing up more ARPA funds. And I started seeing how the council was going shot in the dark again, you know, reactive. Well, let's do this, let's do that. And I don't like that when we zigzag. That's
Yep.
why I said, let's bring it all back together, whatever's unobligated or looks to be unobligated, or, you know, let's organize what we have left. And I had said December 30, you know, December 30 is right around the corner, even though it doesn't seem like it, because that's when we have to have everything obligated. So I didn't want us to be reactive again and come November 15th trying to figure stuff out or scramble. That's why I wanted us to hurry up and get this done and look at the whole picture rather than piecemealing projects and trying to assign. You're good.
With that being said, one thing I did push forward to the council when I saw all this money coming forward and stuff being unobligated was that I asked for another ARPA payment as a consideration. It doesn't mean that's going to be done or anything, but it's just that I pushed for it. I just want to point that out and put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kim, your next item is 105L. You're just full of presentations
I
today.
forgot about that. Yeah, so, you know, for the audience and for the council, on the 105L, I know we've been talking about it for years, it seems like. And so this is a summary of the IHS side. It brings, in your packets, I don't have this for the audience, and so this is just, I had prepared this for Dan too, and so I thought I'd share it with you, because I also say there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of planning we need to do, and maybe some, you know, some organizational discussions, because also with the 105, since we started to get the BIA ones coming in now. So basically back around, I think it was in 2019, Randy and Mark Anderson, and Jeff was just a newbie then, started working on 105L, and we didn't understand it. And so we thought it was just IHS buildings that had health in it, you know. And so they negotiated, and so starting in 2019, they had those 3 buildings, but as tribes learned more about this, Randy and Jeff and I got together, and it was in 2022 we really got aggressive. So it's been, you know, we've been working on this for a couple of years. So we put in, between BIA and IHS, we submitted 33 new lease requests. So it was really aggressive. Most tribes are doing it piecemeal, one at a time. We just went for the big bang. And so in 23, we had our 3 original leases that they were, Mark and Randy were successful in getting, and that was for the Net Lake Clinic, Vermilion Clinic, and the SUDS program in Vermilion. So we've had those. And when we started renewing these, we also had them reappraised, so like those values jumped way up. So in 19, you know, for those 3 buildings, we got $476,601. Now, we've been negotiating, and we sent our application, you know, our application package in in April, or no, May of '23, so we got partial year of '23 for our new buildings and '24, but it all came in '24. So then we added New Moon, which was really kind of unique because we were first thought it was only going to be for the office spaces, but we only have New Moon for the apartment and office space area right now. The I Falls office, Family Health, the Leander House, and we have some office space at Vermillion that was dedicated for health staff that we negotiated, and the ambulance garage is part of that for what they're using for health and human services there. So going forward from 19, with the 3 to 24, our amount that we got for 24 for the 9 leases was $1,649,922. That's per year. And so now you authorize the lease to apply for the lease for 25. So we'll get that amount plus, well, less the I Falls one, plus inflation. So, but we have a lot more works going on in the IHS stuff. There's some, IHS doesn't really have any rules around it yet, and they're just making stuff up.
Yes, they are.
As they're going.
And
And so IHS was questioning, because we put in for the 2 fitness centers. They were questioning it. They didn't deny it, but they questioned it. We did a lot of work and got some more information. And so they kicked that up higher in the IHS. I think it's up to Chris Poole right now. Because we really worked with different staff to get what goes on that's not only just the paid for fitness center type stuff. But then on the other hand, IHS flat out denied for no reason. They just denied them because they don't have their rules. They denied the food distribution, Bois Forte Community Food Shelf, Net Lake, and also in the IHS compact is water and sewer. So we put in for all the pump houses, the water towers, the filtration stations, and they flat out denied them. So what our theory was is we were going to get what we could. Then we're going to do a final offer on those, and then there's another appeal step. If they deny our final offer, we can go back. Yeah. So there's stuff like that. Also, the council had authorized, and they're working on this, the appraisal companies were having the OEO shelter, the Plesha building, and the duplexes at New Moon assessed. And then we'll be applying for those.
I got a question with that, since we have a new site for the Duluth urban office, and there's the front office there, they have like a center room, which is kind of like a little conference room, then have some offices off to the side. And I brought this up, I do believe, to Luke, and also mentioned it to Dan, I think, is that if we could use those offices for like mental health or something like that for billable services, would that be able to qualify for this?
Yep, we would have to have an appraisal done and submit, and it has to tie to the IHS compact. Or, it has to be a service that's in our stuff. So it's a program, service, function, or activity. So we're getting pretty good at coming up with tying stuff to community health, and mental health is pretty broad, and substance abuse, So we're getting it down to a good science. It would be just that space, the office, yep. And then the common space is like 50%. So like bathrooms you share with other programs, or the hallways, that's considered common space. You can negotiate for part of that.
Basically, that would, from my understanding, that would help offset the cost for like the leasing or the renting and then paying the lights. Awesome.
Yep. So we're really in tune on this, And so I do have a meeting scheduled with the council on August 20th to go through a lot about this, because there was a lot of questions what the money can't be used for, because the BIA one started to come in now. Inviting those who have those programs that would touch if they're interested, so like we should make sure Dan's invited so he hears, what it goes. But a couple years ago, you remember when we had the BIA budget meeting at Fortune Bay, we hosted it. And, I can't remember his name, from Red Lake came and he did it, Jim Garrigan. And they used it and they showed us how. So like, what they did is they built, because it applies to AIHS functions and BIA functions, this law falls into, what Red Lake did is they built a dialysis center, and so they negotiated with IHS, and then they built 2 fire halls, which they negotiated with BIA on. But what they did is they applied for the USDA Rural Development Grant Loan Package. And so one of the eligible costs, and you negotiate for that cost in there, because there's different methods of negotiation, is the principal and interest payments for those buildings to USDA is an allowable cost in 105L. There's a lot of stuff to do. It's a wonderful opportunity. And so we submitted a bunch on the BIA side, and we've gotten 2 back so far. I'm supposed to get some more information from the appraisers for the BIA. It was due, they said they would have it back yesterday. I'll have to email them. And getting through BIA, it's the same law. BIA negotiates one way. IHS isn't it? BIA is like, okay, you turned in all your paperwork, you said it's this, okay, go ahead. IHS is trying to throw all these wrenches in it. So like, they were saying they wouldn't do garage space. Well, if you have a property and you have to house a vehicle or like a lawnmower to upkeep your property, or a snow blower, you have to have it in a garage. But they're saying that that's not a program, so they're just kind of making up some rule, like that. It's also coming out, there's a lot of stuff we have to learn yet, because we've asked about contract support. Is 105 contract support? What's the CFDA number on this? There's a whole bunch of rules we got to figure out, what it can be used for, can't be used for. We have a general idea, but you had asked some questions in an email. Jeff is researching that. But also now it's creeping up in our contract support claim against IHS. One of the documents they asked for is how much of our money, or one of the things they're asking for now is how much of our money from 105 we've used in this claim. So it's creeping up in places, so it's a big learning curve.
The one great thing about the 105L is it frees up money that was that the programs were previously allocating to utilities, and insurance and whatever, heating. That frees that money up for sure to go back into patient or program services. This extra money coming in frees up that money, so that works out really well. When this first came out, and I believe myself and I think Donna Hoffer was the health director at the time, we went out to Green Bay, and that's where this 105L presentation was done. And so when we got back, I approached Kim and Randy, and they just ran with it after that, and Jeff. And so it is a lot of work. It's a lot of measuring. You need prints, blueprints. I mean, you need all kinds of stuff for the government. But I just want to say that in the end, it really benefits us. And Red Lake was one of the first tribes, I believe, to really go after the 105L. And I think they were getting like $6 million or something from 105 at one point. for their buildings, but a lot of the tribes are still trying to play catch up. A lot of tribes aren't accessing 105L yet, so we've been very aggressive, so that's really great. And the meeting, I think, will be good on knowing exactly what these funds can be used for when we meet on the 20th. So this is exciting for our programs.
So how, the methodology that we used to negotiate this, we did what's called lease value appraisals. So if we just went, because it was the easiest way, is if we were to go lease that space somewhere, what would we pay? What's the market rate in the area? Now when we build new buildings, so such as when the Vermilion facility gets done, we'll negotiate, and we're going to actually we're going to assess it, and we're going to do it on actual cost, because you can get replacement dollars, you can get depreciation, and then per an IR schedule, but you got to know how old everything is. So like when new buildings come online, because like there's like a depreciation schedule for stuff like water heaters or HVAC systems. They're different ages, roofs. And so you do this, it's a lot of work. And so to hurry up and get money, we went with the lease appraisal, but we can do actual costs. And so like when we said if we do a building that we've had a loan on, that is one of those functions that are eligible, we would look at it both ways to see which was most advantageous to us. And then now we can build a reserve, so a building has, like, something happens and you have a deductible, or you have roof damage, your roof needs to be replaced because it aged out, or we have funds instead of using like ARPA dollars or something, or general fund dollars. So
I would just like to say thank you to Kathy and Donna for going with the Green Bay and bringing that back to the tribe, and also to Randy and Kim and Jeff for running with this. And this was a long process, but look where we're at now. I know it was a long, hard work, long haul, and thank you.
Great presentations, Kim, I think, for the audience here, but also with it being recorded, others can go and look. And again, yeah, so that'll be another category in your yearly report to the tribal members, the band members. So Chi-miigwech to all of you. Great job. Any other questions or comments for Kim? Good job. You finished all your presentations.
well, no, you said I have to sit up here with Dan now. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm presenting now.
Okay, Kim is now done, so we'll have Dan Rabideau come up with his HHS update. Kim's just going to sit there.
I don't know, you said Kim and Dad, so.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. Partner in crime here, I guess. Thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today to share some information I think that will be very well received by the community as a whole. And the update's really around our behavioral health and mental health programs and the expansion and what we've been doing and working on, both internally and in our partnership with Portage's Health. And so first and foremost, I'd like to just say a lot of this stuff is still expanding. We're still growing, but nonetheless, there's also some misinformation that is out, and I catch bits and pieces of it from time to time from the community. And so I'd just like for everybody to know that we have mental health services in person and available virtually every day, Monday through Friday, both in Nett Lake and in Vermilion. And I think it's important for people to know and understand how they access that. Access right now has been centralized to scheduling a clinic appointment with a therapist. So there's your first point of entry. Make a phone call to one of the clinics. We'll get you scheduled. With the assistance of Randy and his IT team. We have the exam rooms set up with the capability in the event of a crisis situation to access a therapist via telehealth. And so we can do that immediately. We also have Monday through Friday availability to see somebody in person, with the exception of Monday and Net Lake. We do not have somebody physically on site, but we do, if they needed to see someone in Vermilion, we do have someone on site. And then Wednesday, in Vermilion, we do not have someone on site. But we do have access to telehealth services in those situations. And if somebody has the ability to travel or we can arrange transportation, we can get them to one of the other locations if they need to be seen in person. With that then, we are also expanding the services to Native American children to up to, and I'm saying up to because we don't have them all established yet, 17 different schools in the Northeast Minnesota region. And I'd like to just highlight a couple of things with the schools right now. We are working with the Net Lake Elementary, Northwood School, Tower Elementary, Vermilion Charter School, Rockridge Public Schools, and International Falls. Those are the programs that we have established and we are building on, and will be ready to deliver what are called children's therapeutic services and support services right out of the gate once the school year starts. That is a billable service. We took the spring and the summer to submit an application to DHS to be approved as a CTSS delivery, tribal delivery model. And what that means is our therapy and coaching services are going to be offered at no charge to the school. However, it is a billable service. So if somebody has commercial insurance or insurance or are tribally enrolled in an MA program, we can bill DHS for that and receive the encounter rate for those services. The schools that we've met with are beyond complimentary of the tribe's initiative in bringing mental health services and support services into the school for Native American children and families. And again, I want to emphasize it's not just the children, it goes beyond the children to include the families. And so if we identify a situation where family members need support, we will then arrange for the proper support services, whether it's mental health or SUD or what have you. Or if it's other needs, we are working with our community health team and Terry Morrison to build a full holistic assessment of an individual's needs. It could be housing, it could be food support, it could be transportation, it could be mental health, it could be SUD, it could be basic health. And one of the things that was brought up in one of our executive meets, I think building off of what Kim said, is one of the things that was asked is, where are we sitting with our various communities, which include, and Shane's timing is perfect, the cultural aspect and the traditional and complementary services to Western medicine. Where are we at with some of those things? And so I think you're going to start to hear us talk more and more about how do we provide complementary traditional cultural based activities and services with the Western medicine parts. And part of the assessment is going to help us identify and provide options to individuals for both, which to me is very exciting because one of the things that with this will open doors for, and I've been in discussions with the Department of Health, DHS, and IHS, is as we establish these programs, there's going to become more and more funding to maintain them, and because they're billable, collect those funds and they become unrestricted within health. So much like the 105L money is a huge opportunity for us to not put program dollars into maintenance, utilities, and so on and so forth. Having grant dollars help us offset program costs, but be allowed to bill for those services, collect revenue from those services, is going to do much the same thing. And so even though, we've talked since I've been here and even prior to me accepting a position, HHS can look and operate like a business. This is exactly what we're talking about. We should be able to offer services, not be dependent on any one revenue source, and build something that is sustainable, because there's a lot of avenues to do it. And 105L grants and billable opportunities are going to be able to do that. So very excited to be able to share how we've been able to expand the services, offer services Monday through Friday, and make things available to people. We're also looking at and have deployed and reinstated our ARMS program. And our ARMS program is Adult Rehabilitative Mental Health Services. Those are services that you see a therapist, and there's a variety of different areas that the therapist can recommend support services for. Those two are billable. And I know the service is more important than the revenue, but again, I'm talking about this in parallel to one another, because it's important for us to establish a sustainable program. The last thing that we want to do is bring something to the band members and then have to take it away because there isn't funding for it. So it's important for us to build something that is sustainable long-term, because especially in areas of mental health, chemical dependency, and so on and so forth, you can't put it out there and take it away. That can be tragic. And so we are very happy to bring back immediately and effective immediately our ARMS related services for adults. So we'll have both CTSS related services for children, we'll have the ARMS based services for adults, and we have people that are credentialed and ready to go in those areas to provide those services. And we just sent out this morning to all of HHS, to referral sources, ways in which they can connect people to ARMS services and refer to ARMS services. The last thing that I want to highlight related to these specifically is the marketing aspect. How do we get the information out to those in need? The number one way we do it is we utilize our internal sources first. Our employees can be the biggest advocates for us. And so we will be launching a two-part in one session. So I don't want people to think they have to attend two different sessions, but we will do 2 different sessions in Net Lake, 2 different sessions in Vermilion, encouraging every employee to attend one of those sessions. There will be a 2-hour session, and they will be told what services are available for their own or their family members' mental health or any SUD-related concerns they have. Nothing will be done where they need to divulge confidential information about themselves or family members, but it's education on how they themselves access services, as well as what services are available. Because I think we talk too often in general terms of just calling something mental health or calling something SUD. We need to make sure that everybody knows and understand what those specific service types are and what is available. And so you'll be seeing invitations go out in the next few weeks around an invitation for all of you as tribal council, every one of you as employees, to attend one of those sessions where we have an opportunity to educate you on what is available, how you access it, and how do you refer someone in need should you come upon that or should they reach out to you. And if we do that, I think we're going to hit a much wider market than just thinking if we put it in print and hope somebody sees it. We'll do that as well, but we can't just be reliant on any one thing. We'll also post things on our website as our new website goes live in the next month. And then I'm not a social media guru, but I think we need to incorporate it into social media. So we will work with someone on social media on proper marketing and accessing the services that are needed. With that, then, we also have our SUD department. We've met recently with staff. We did have the departure through retirement of our SUD supervisor. We will be posting for that position along with another LADC position to support our SUD program. And then we will also be working with the tribal courts because the tribal courts have a referral process. So we want to make sure that they're well aware of what is available based on court-ordered things related to mental health, independency situations with folks. So there's probably a lot that I'm missing, but there's a overview, some highlights of what is in place and what's to come. But again, very excited about where the direction of these programs are going and open it up for discussion or questions that you may have.
Yes. First off, you know, we talked about the new Duluth urban office and the past couple of months, you know, asking you about the position that you're looking at getting, the case manager. Can we put him there? Can we help pay for the facility and all that? Where are we at with that?
So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, I believe Luke has a lease agreement that he is in the process of reviewing with Jeff. So the lease agreement has been requested. I believe it's been received. As far as who we look to staff in there, yes, we are going to have a housing case manager staffed from there. Based on the space that's committed to, we may have the opportunity to put in a mental health provider, which is ideal. And again, to Kim's point on 105L monies, if these are services in our compact that we are expected to deliver, which they are, then they become, the space occupied by those positions becomes subject to 105L opportunities. And so the leasing costs very well should get approved. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but they should be approved. And that's going to help offset the cost for that. So that is the plan as we go forward to expand these services into the Duluth market. I believe in one of the emails some time ago, Kim brought some data forth, and it was, we have a significant number of band members in the Duluth area. So I think it is important for us to do outreach and or establish a presence there. And we'll adjust our schedules accordingly to make sure we're meeting their needs. So great.
I think that with that being said, I think there needs to be a schedule of timeline when this is all going to take place, because I don't want to be coming back to a council meeting in December and still nothing is done. You know, and then if you can say, hey, the next meeting I'll have, this is what I'll give you guys. This is the outline. This is when everything's going to be in place. Boom.
Yeah, we can do that.
My next question is regarding Portage's Health. Does Portage's Health go to New Moon at all?
Right now, Portage's Health doesn't have a physical presence at New Moon because we have a established provider already at New Moon providing services.
You do, okay.
Is that Brett?
No, it's
Oh.
Casey.
Oh, Casey, okay, thank you.
So we have a partnership. Great question, though, Shane. So let me maybe expand on that a little bit. We still have both internal staff and previous partnerships that were in place prior to Portage's. Portage's is once again supplemental to those services. So we do have Casey Vu from Vu Counseling providing services. She's at New Moon and provides services there twice a week. She's also made herself available in the event we've had needs outside of those 2 days for us if needed. We then have Chad Scott, who has his own independent business, and we have him providing services, and he's on site twice a week as well. In addition to that, then, we have Michelle Long, who is a therapist of ours, employed by us. And we have Krista Loby, who is a advanced practice nurse, psychiatric nurse. And so we still have those services that we have, and they are providing mental health services along with portages. So nobody has been eliminated from the mix. It's been a complementary and supplemental program as we expand.
You know, and because I know that previously when we sat upstairs and we were talking about this and Portage's health, and one thing I brought up was creating a manager position within human services, to oversee human services, to start building up our mental health and our SUDS program, and then Portage's Health can do what they need to do, and you know, then like you mentioned that, you know, we had a guy individual leave, so that if we can staff up the staff that needs to be at the mental health and the SUDS program up there, the office people that need to be there to do the office stuff, so that people that actually do the client stuff can do the client stuff.
So are you talking more on the administrative assistant side within the programs?
To basically get all the employees that we need in place to make that program the way it should be. Somebody who can do office stuff, while the person who does the client stuff can just do the client stuff. Just concentrate on the clients and do services, and they're not overwhelmed. Just, okay, I gotta do client stuff, now I gotta go back and do office stuff and stuff like that. Balance it out. Because I remember when I worked up there, we were fully staffed. When I used to work at Human Services, you know, and you know, what we're seeing people leaving us, it's kind of like it's concerning.
Okay. I don't think I'm fully understanding the fully staffed. I guess I need to talk to you a little bit more.
I want to get more into it, but I can't, because I do believe it would be crossing the line if I said it, because it's confidentiality. It's just dealing with the former employees. But I think I'd probably say that once we maybe sit down in an executive session, I can address it more openly then.
Sure.
I know that right now also there's a lot of position openings at Health and Human Services, Victim Services. We need a dentist, we need a dental assistant, we need lab techs. So please, anybody out there, if you know of anybody, we have position openings all over the tribe and Fortune Bay. So we really encourage our people to apply, because it's really kind of hurting some of our services, because we have to kind of cut back if we don't have the people in the positions to do the jobs. So please, if you know of anybody, we're put the feelers out there, guys. Ask friends or anybody you know, to let them know that you know, we do have some position openings here. And thank you, Dan, for that report. And I think it's all about, you know, we talked about communication, and we're trying to address that. But you know, I like the part about the employees as well, because I know a lot of our employees have a lot of stress, a lot of mental health issues, dealing with either personal issues, work issues, or just overall need a little boost once in a while, a little pick-me-up. So it's nice to have these. I really like the schools, because the schools have been asking for mental health for quite a while with some of the kids, some of the issues the kids are bringing in. That's great to see, especially in our schools where our children are closely within the area. But and then billable services is even better. The more we bill, the more other services we can bring in as well. We brought in PT at that time, and it's worked out. I mean, I actually went to 2 of my PT appointments like I was supposed to. And sometimes I avoided them because I had to drive to Cook, and they're just gonna go hurt me anyway. But, you know, so I think that, again, we're growing. We continue to grow, but finding that sustainability is key. So good report. Any
Yeah.
other, go ahead, Shane.
And thank you for that, we're addressing the SUD stuff there, the SUD staffing issue there. And that hopefully by next meeting or maybe the meeting September, that we'll have people on board with that and keep moving forward.
That would be ideal. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Rabideau? If not, thank you for your time and your report. You too as well, Kim. Wake up, Kim. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Okay, thanks everybody for, oh, Shane, I'm sorry. I already cut you off there. Sorry, it was way over to the right with an arrow. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Shane, I apologize.
What I asked for was just a simple discussion. I think that we need to be looking at it. And that is the creation of a position or two positions regarding language and culture. I know that we've talked about it time and again. I think it's time to basically put it into action, get some people on board to hire them to learn the language to become fluent, at the same time document everything that they're learning, and also to create a language policy that if somebody wants to attend a language class, they can attend a language class without using annual leave or whatever. It's kind of like when we used to have that fitness leave, when people could go to the fitness center, something like that. I think we got to really, as a tribal council, we really need to push for the language and culture.
And just, I might put this plug out there also that we did have that language and culture meeting. And I don't know if it's still posted, Nikki, but we are looking at a revitalization committee where anybody can basically apply because we have the Zoom and Team available now. So is that still posted, Nikki, the revitalization committee? I know I saw it posted or on email or something because I know a member. Oh, I wonder I'm not sure. Might have come from Jessica. So, but we are trying to get that revitalization committee of tribal band members that want to be involved with our language and culture revitalization. That's another huge part of it. We need to get that committee going as well. But yes, and then also I know that once we get this committee established, it would be nice too to have our language and culture strategic plan for the next 5 years, where we want it to be, like our guiding document to how we're going to get there. So, Perry?
Yes, and I want to add to that with the strategic planning for the language and culture. I want to speak. I'm not speaking on behalf for Jess Anderson or Jalen Strong, but when I was for language and culture last year, I want to take full accountability for the strategic planning being done late last year because I couldn't get to it right away. The thing is, there's no market for like strategic planners for language. I mean, they're very rare. So I just want to say that that I already told Jalen, as I said, I will take the bullet for if the strategic planning for the language and culture isn't done yet, I will take full accountability. Sorry, that's all.
Oh, that's okay, Jay. Just as an FYI, we do have Grand Portages. They shared their strategic plan with us for the next 5 years that we could use as a guide, because it's always good to see what's out there so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so Grand Portage was very gracious in letting us have their 5-year strategic language plan. So, those that we're getting there, but it is a slow process, but we need people involved. So, Tara?
Since we're plugging things, can we focus, we're going to redo our ARPA, whatever is unobligated or whatever is not being used. Is there any way that we can use remaining ARPA funds and obligate them by December 2024 for language, culture, positions, plans, strategic planning specifically for language and culture, classes, anything like that? And then also with ARPA, I know we don't have tons left, but language being in there, but also for our elders. We keep having the, wanting our elderly units or I don't know if these units back in the 60s were they built? 70s. You know, if they're even worth rehabbing. I know we've been rehabbing and rehabbing them over the 20-some, 30-some years that they're there. But I'd like to see the remainder of the ARPA funds being used for language and culture, elders, and anything youth-related. Because I don't see that very strongly in this document. I mean, I see it a little bit here and there, but not singly focused on those 3 issues. So I'd like that. Thank you much.
I just wanted to update, I'll be with the strategic planning and language and everything, and there was talked about a couple times of executive meets and talking about direction. And I do want to get back to the 5-year strategic plan. I do think language and culture is very important. Right now, I guess the game plan to get our strategic plan complete, our own tribal government strategic plan, is we developed 20 questions for the tribal council. Right now, we're missing a key directive, and that is from all of you. So we're going to schedule either 1 to 2 hour sessions of interviewing each and every single one of you of what are your top 3 priorities for Bois, Forte, and Chippewa for the next 5 years? Where do you think language should go? How should we promote our heritage? So then senior management and all of us kind of know. It's kind of hard to be the conductor when we don't have a roadmap. It's hard to be the coach when we don't have a playbook. And it's hard for team players to go further along without having a playbook. And language and culture could be in that. And if that's a top 3 priority, I would like that also in the 5-year strategic plan, because that's kind of the roadmap for the tribe for the next 5 years, and it's very important. I just wanted to add that. And in there we could do youth and elders and anything that you 5 want to do. It's just we need to get this done.
Miigwech, Luke. But yeah, I think with discussion, we do have some meetings coming up regarding the ARPA funding yet. And just for Tara's information, Kim was shaking her head yes over there. For those that can't see her way over there, with regards to the language and culture. So those are things that we'll be addressing, I'm believing, before the end of the month. Thank you for that, Shane. Sorry I forgot you there for a little bit. But anyway, is there any other discussion? If not, I will call for a motion to adjourn at 11:59. Ho-ho. Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Everybody have a great day. We are closed Friday for our annual employee picnic, where we have our families and our employees come. And so just make sure that you're aware of that. And we wish everybody safe, I guess, the rest of the summer, whatever's left. But good luck to the families with school shopping and the kids groaning and moaning because they don't want to go back to school. So, Chi Miigwech, have a great day, and Giga Wabaman, see you later.